Hello. This is going to be quite a different video from what I normally upload, in that normally I just upload my PBs, and I'm going to be truly shocked if I get a PB in this video because today I am playing Celeste on hard mode, and by that I mean I am playing and talking at the same time, which I have learned is much harder than just playing, because it turns out that everyone wasn't lying when they said that multitasking is hard. So I'm doing this because I'm submitting to a video game speedrunning marathon. There we go, words are hard. Speedrunning marathon where if I'm submitted I would want to be able to talk and play at the same time. So getting practice seems like a good idea. And they said don't bother about making a specific submission video, that'd be a waste of time. But I'm on holidays, so I've got time to waste. And I figured, why not? And again, practice is good for you, right? So, as I said, this is Celeste. We're doing an all red berries speedrun, which means I'm trying to beat the game as fast as possible while collecting all of these red berries. I just collected the first one there. They're extra little collectibles that are scattered around the game, often really far out of the way. And are just sort of like extra challenges for us to pick up. They have one other really important role that they serve in the game, which I'll talk about at the start of Chapter 2. But for now, just like extra challenges for us to pick up. They let us see a whole lot of different screens that we don't get to see in the any percent run, and often require some sort of other movement tech that we don't tend to use in any percent either. So that's fun. Let's see if I can get a cool trick here. No, I missed. There's a fun zoomy thing that I can do on that screen, but alas, no dice that time. But speaking of fun zoomy things, I should probably talk a little bit about how this game is played. So we are playing Madeline. Oh, I might also note, I just quit out of the game and back into it because, as I said, these berries are often scattered really far out of the way. And that one had taken me so far off the beaten track that I actually needed to, well, it was faster to reset. I'm going to do some weird movement here. There we go. All of that was in order to collect that crystal heart. It was like a little cheat code I put in to make the heart appear. And these blue hearts are like super secret collectibles. There's one in each chapter. And we need to collect 4 of them in order to unlock the final level of the game. Anyway, lots of really complicated stuff at the start of the game. It slows down a little bit now in terms of weird things that I'm doing and more into just sort of standard gameplay. So as I was about to do before I got into weird things, let's talk a little bit about how we play this game. So it's a precision platformer. We are trying to climb a mountain, which means that we can move around as you would expect. We can die when we hit spikes. We can jump, we can grab onto ledges and climb, and we can dash, which is this little burst of speed that I'm getting as I zoom around the place that turns Madeline's hair blue. We get 1 dash every time we leave the ground until we touch the ground again. So you can see when I dash, Madeline's hair turns blue, and then when I hit the ground again, her hair turns red again to tell me, hey, you've got your dash back. And that's all of the movement in the entire game. It's just those 4 things: moving, jumping, climbing, dashing. But what makes the game super fun is that we can combine our dashes with other bits of movement in order to have a really versatile moveset. So the one that you're going to see me doing by far the most is called a hyper dash, which is where I am dashing down into the side while I'm on the ground and then jumping immediately afterwards, and that's where I'm doing these big, like, I don't know, super zoomy jumps to the side. It's by far the fastest way of moving around, and essentially what I'm doing is I am dashing, and then by jumping I'm keeping the momentum of that dash through the air for longer than I would have it if I just stayed on the ground. So that's an example of one of those there. You can see I'm crossing these really large gaps by just hyper dashing across. Another common piece of movement tech is a wall bounce. You're seeing me do a few of them here. This is where I dash directly upwards next to a wall and then jump off it. And once again, it keeps the momentum from my dash as I jump and lets me go upwards really fast. Spike jump. I'll talk about that in a second. Yay. Cool, that's the end of chapter 1. So that spike jump, it looks like I jumped off some deadly spikes. What I actually did was jump off the little corner of wall immediately next to the deadly spikes, which technically is safe ground. But it looks like we jumped off spikes, and that's cool. Coming into chapter 2, here's the other thing that strawberries do. Strawberries impress your friends. That's all. So, I guess that means that if you're my friend, you are legally required to be impressed right now. I don't make the rules. That's a wall bounce there. Another wall bounce, as you can see. Really fast way of climbing upwards. There's one other really important piece of movement tech that we can do in this game, which is called an extended hyperdash, which you might have noticed there's a couple of times I said I only get one dash while I'm in the air. There's a couple of times it looks like I'm getting a second bonus dash, and that's when I'm doing these extended hyperdashes. We should have one coming up soon. Oh, I missed it there. Here we go. There we go. So you can see, even though I did a hyperdash, I still had my dash afterwards. Basically what I'm doing there is I'm delaying my jump input on the hyperdash just briefly for long enough for me to reset my dash before I leave the ground, but not lose all my speed. That's a really, really useful technique. It lets us, as I said, essentially get a bonus dash, which is really, really useful for crossing big gaps and getting to hard to reach places. And that's sort of the last really big movement tech in the game. So I guess the next thing to talk about is we are in chapter 2. There are 8 chapters in the game in total, and each one's got its own sort of gimmicks and different platforming obstacles. And the big one in this one are these little colourful black blocks that I'm dashing through. These are called dream blocks. We're currently in an extended dream sequence, and that's good because nothing in dreams can hurt you, right? I'm pretty sure that's how it works. But while we're in this dream sequence, these dream blocks are active, and they let us dash into them, and then they keep our dash going in whatever direction we were dashing until we leave them. So it lets us do really long dashes like that. Coming into the other big gimmick of this level, we're introducing the second character in this game, Madeline. Madeline is like Madeline, but bad. She doesn't want us to climb this mountain. And in this level, she's going to follow us around and kill us if she catches up. Which is really, really scary in your casual playthrough. Suddenly it feels like you've got like a timer on you. Rarely is it a particular difficulty when we're speedrunning because we're going fast enough that she can't really catch up to us. The only point where it's a problem is when we have to double back on ourselves like I did there. And in that case, she is following exactly the path that I'm making, just on a bit of a delay. So I just need to sort of move out of the way. I'm going to do it again here. To make her sort of get out of my way as I travel backwards. Other than that, we just sort of move quickly and Madeline can't catch us and everything is fine. We're just sort of doing our best to outrun our own reflection. And if I know anything about reflections, it's that we can always outrun them and everything is fine. Cool. We're out of the spooky ruins now, so Madeline's going to stop following us. And I'm sure we'll never see her again. So we've just got a couple of last berries to collect in this chapter. I think 3 in total. So I guess a couple plus 1. Here I'm doing these things called dream hypers, where I'm hyperdashing out of a dream block. Turns out we can get a little jump just as we leave the dream block, so we can hyper. And as I said, hypers fast, so we try to do them. Alright, that's the end of the dream sequence. We wake up back at our campfire. It was all a dream, so I guess everything that happened there doesn't matter, and it's all fine. Whoop. We've got one last berry to collect in this chapter, and then we're going to be on to chapter 3. Oh, I missed a wall bounce there. Here's another fun spike jump. Whee! That would have been... It's always awkward when I say wee and then die, so I'm really glad I made that spike jump. I thought I wasn't going to hit it for a second. Cool. And that's the end of chapter 2. Hooray! Alright, coming into chapter 3, which is a pretty big difficulty spike, both in terms of our casual playthrough and in terms of the speed run. I'm not going to lie, Not my favourite chapter. We're going to see sort of why it's so challenging, but we're going into a spooky hotel. The good news is that the game tells us to be proud of our death count. And the more we die, the more we're learning, which I think is a really, really nice message to have in the game, because when we are learning this game, we die a lot, and especially in this chapter. So, growth mindsets, we're not going to give up, and when we die, that's okay. So, one recurring thing in this chapter is we've got these keys that we need to collect to get through locked doors. And the other big thing in this chapter is these moving hazards. These are dust bunnies. The story of this chapter is essentially that this is an old hotel that's been sort of left to fall into disarray. And so everything, everything is covered in dust that will kill us. So that's fun. The reason that this chapter is so tricky, or one reason, is that these moving hazards mean that we have to be able to adapt to them on the fly. They always start in the same place whenever we enter a screen, but if I do anything that's a little bit wrong and I have to adjust, that means my original strategy sort of goes out the window because everything's in a different place. And also, when we die, it takes, a fraction of a second to spawn in, which means that once again, all of the moving hazards are in different spots, which means we need to use different strategies on screens that we die on. This next screen, we've got some fast movement to try to make a cycle. Hey, we need to try to beat that little dust bunny coming up. One thing that you might be noticing as well is that I'm often sort of dashing, or in that case sort of dash jumping, that's called a super jump, into the next screen. Our momentum gets preserved as we go across screens, and so a lot of the time we sort of set up for one screen. Oops, I missed my little window there. We do things to set up for a screen to make the start of the next screen faster. There we go, that's what I was trying to do. So a large part of learning this game is sort of learning not only how to get through a screen, but how to leave screens in order to set up for the next one. There's another nice example of that coming up here. I'm going to dash into this screen, and that's going to let me hopefully skip a little bit. There we go. So I got to skip the opening trampoline there and jump ahead. And lets me just move faster through the game, and we like moving quickly. All of that was to collect a key, and also obviously the berries I was collecting on the way. And now we can get onto the second part of the game. So we're coming in, the second part of the chapter, I guess. So this section is called Huge Mess. You can see I'm having to navigate these piles of boxes and towels and books because Oshiro, the owner of this hotel, has not cleaned up. We need to get to that key that's in the middle. And so to do that, we're going to go off on all these little side paths in order to put the things away. I was trying to do something called a demo dash there. I missed it. That's okay. There's going to be another one later in the chapter, so I'll talk about them then, but they're really fun. Berry. There's a fun little bit of movement tech that we can do there, but I jumped too late, so I'm going to have to do this the slow way. But that's okay, because we're proud of our death count. And the more that we die, the more we're learning. Alright, into the weird bit of heart getting stuff here. I'm actually going to move backwards up through a secret exit there. And do all these screens that I just did, but in the opposite direction. And that, is going to let me get to this heart up here that previously was blocked off. Fun fact, we can keep on moving after we get a heart, so I just did that there, and now I'm going to do a little death warp, and now I'm up here, which I wasn't at before. What I did there was I essentially left the blue heart screen, and then went back in through the exit, and the game does not expect me to enter the room through that little doorway. And so when I then die on that screen, it tries to put me to the closest respawn point from where I entered the screen, which turns out to be directly above us in an area of the map that we hadn't gotten to yet. So it lets me sort of... Oh no, I missed oh, what am I doing? This is what I was talking about with these death strats. Normally I don't die on this screen, which is great, but it means that when I do die on this screen, I haven't got a lot of practice of what to do, so I kind of had to make that up as I went there. Which is actually quite a big part of the game. Like, obviously, we are humans, we make mistakes, and so because dying is slow, when you make mistakes, you got to sort of try to figure out ways on the fly to correct those mistakes without dying in order to save time. And sometimes we're successful, sometimes we're not. Cool, that's the end of Huge Mess. We've put away all of the different things now, so we can grab this key and keep going. Just kidding, we've got berries to collect. Or one last berry to collect, rather. Oh, and I missed it. Let's actually get the berry. And now we're going to go back up to Ashiro and keep going. We say to Ashiro, hey, I put all your stuff away. And he goes, what took you so long? Why aren't you following me? And we say, okay, boomer. Into the next part of this level, which is Elevator Shaft. Oshiro is taking us to the Presidential Suite because he hopes that we want to stay in the Presidential Suite. We do not want to stay in the Presidential Suite because that would require, you know, sleeping for a night, and that's not slow. Oh, that's not fast, rather. We're speedrunning. So we're going to go up to the Presidential Suite and then try to just, like, leave the hotel via the roof. Because that seems like the easiest way to get out of here. Oh no, I'm glad I collected that berry. I may have not been focusing on gameplay and instead focusing on narrative. So that's some mistakes on that last screen. This next screen is going to take focus. It's really tight. Oh no. Alright, we'll take that. Lots of really, really difficult to time wall bounces there. Cool, and here's a demo dash, the thing I was trying to do earlier. Oh, it might look like I'm just dashing into a death plane, and you'd be forgiven for thinking so. There we go. There's actually a tiny little gap between the death hazards in that wall. Which is just enough to get through if we dash while also crouching. It turns out Madeline's hitbox is slightly smaller than the gap. So there's a few of those in the game that we can go for. That one saves a lot of time because it stops us going around and doing whole other rooms. Here, as I said, we are trying to escape the hotel along the roof. Ashiro doesn't like that we're leaving, so he is going to try to kill us because, you know, that's how to run your business, I guess. You can't have dissatisfied customers if your dissatisfied customers are dead. Ooh, that was close. Oh dear. Ooh, that was close. We're doing a couple of these. This one's fun. Whee! And then this is one last room that's really long, and I'm going to try not to die on it. But I'm already off cycle of what I would want to be doing, so death is not unlikely. But we'll see how we go. Yee! Okay, I think we're good. Ooh. Jeez, okay. That was really scary. I almost died like 5 different times on that screen, and if I die on that screen, it's a pretty big time loss because you saw how long it was. But we'll take that. So, that's chapter 3. And we need a bit of a palette cleanser now because that was pretty dark and eerie. So we're going to just climb along a golden ridge. Isn't that nice? This is one of my favorite chapters in the game. It's just really pretty, especially after chapter 3. There's sort of quite a few gimmicks in this chapter. We've already seen those clouds that I can jump onto and they give me a little bounce, as well as the little green orbs. Those we can jump into, and then they will give us a little boost in a particular direction. And then the other main, or actually two more big things in this chapter, but the other one that we saw there is wind. Oh no! I missed a berry. That's alright, we can go back and get that berry. Not a huge time loss there, but I am going to collect these berries at the end of this screen because I really don't want to have to go back and get them again if I die again. More clouds. So yes, wind blows against us, makes it harder to move. Thankfully our dashes are not impacted. So it means that we want to dash around a lot, but we want to dash around a lot anyway because dashing is fast. So wind, not often a huge obstacle, just means we sort of have to account for it in our strategies. Ooh, I missed a fast jump there. We're going to come up here, we're going to grab a seeded berry. I actually grabbed one of these in chapter 2, but I was talking about other stuff at the time. These seeded berries are little bonus platforming challenges. You can see when I touched the ground there, they disappeared. We're going to pretend that that was intentional in order for me to show you what was going on. But we need to collect all of these different seeds around the screen without touching the ground. And when we get all of them, they turn into a berry for us to collect. So there's a few of them scattered through the game, not a ton. The other big thing that we see in chapter 4 is these moving blocks. When we land on them, they start moving in the direction that they are pointing. They're all quite slow, so we try not to stay on them for long. So you can see I'm sort of trying to maneuver my way around these screens while barely touching the blocks or by jumping off them basically as soon as they start wherever possible. This one I'm going to stay on for a few seconds and then zoom! Same here. Oh, this one's a bit of a tight jump. It might take me a couple of tries. Oh, I made it there, but I need my dash. There we go. That's another fun application of a demo dash. A demo dash is essentially just when we are dashing while crouched. Turns out if you are holding onto the bottom of a wall and you demo dash, it dashes you underneath the wall, which can be really useful for some setups. Here we're meant to go all the way over to the left, but that's slow, so I'm just going to make my way back instead. And on that screen you saw me doing these things called neutral jumps, where we have limited stamina while we're holding onto a wall. Wonder what that white block does. It's really out of place. Oh well. But yeah, we've got limited stamina when we hold onto a wall, but jumping away from a wall doesn't consume stamina. I'm tired, let's sit down on this block. Whee! Cool, that lets us get into the background. It's a reference to Super Mario World 3, apparently. I haven't actually played it, which may be sacrilegious, I don't know. But that lets us get up here, and that gets us our 4th heart for the game. So that's the last heart that we need to collect. Anyway, yeah, neutral jumps. So I can jump away from a wall, and then immediately jump back towards it, and it lets me climb. This is a pretty difficult strategy here. Ooh, first try. I don't normally go for that in runs, because it's really, really hard, and I haven't quite got it consistent enough, but I've been... Ooh, this is where we do really hard stuff and then immediately forget how to do the easy stuff. I collected that berry, right? Pretty sure I collected that berry. Anyway, yeah, that really hard strategy. Essentially, I needed to get into the top corner of something, which is a sub-pixel dependent position, and then do a little like corner kick off the roof, which is, I don't think frame perfect, but pretty close to it, the full sequence there. So 2 really precise movements, one directly after the other, and if we don't get them, we die and lose a lot of time. But if we do get them, we save a lot of time because the alternative is to do an auto-scroller. And as we've established, these platforms move slowly, auto-scrollers are slow. We don't want to use them. This berry's really funny. There's just enough room on that little platform to pick up the berry and then immediately die, So we pick up the berry and then immediately die. Need to get down into the corner for this berry. Oh, but not onto the spikes. There we go. This screen is another auto-scroller. There is a skip for this screen as well, but I haven't learnt it. So we're just going to hang out here and do it the slow way. And that's actually something I really like about... Oh, I lost my speed there. Something I really, really like about this game is that there are... Let me just focus. There we go. There's so many different strategies for every string. And, you know, there's the sort of casual playthrough strategy, which obviously, as not a speedrun strategy, tends to be slower. And then also the levels have been designed to be able to make use of this fancy speedrun tech. But even within, like, using speedrun tech, like that, there's sort of a whole range of different strategies that you can use from sort of easier to harder. And so it means that when we're learning the game, we can sort of figure out how difficult we want to make it for ourselves. I'm going to collect this berry because I often die on this screen like that. So sort of like following a trade-off of, you know, can we do faster, more difficult strats, or will that mean that we die and they're no longer faster? So even while running, there's sort of a constant level of, you know, trying to improve at more and more complicated strats to save time. Which is really nice, and it makes the game accessible, because you can run it without having to be amazing at everything. I missed a berry there. There we go. Last little bit here, there's really strong wind in this area, so I basically have to dash in order to move. And this last screen is very fun, because there's no ground, so we're just zooming through these bubbles. There we go, and we're done. That's the end of Chapter 4. At the end of Chapter 4, Theo catches up with us. We briefly saw him in other chapters, but not long enough to really talk about. Theo's cool. He takes selfies and yells YOLO, but we love him anyway. Cool. There was one berry that I was like, I'm pretty sure I collected that, but I may have died too early, so good. We got 29 out of 29 berries. We're good there. Coming into Chapter 5, we come across a spooky temple with Theo, and we're like, hey, this seems fun. Let's explore it. But before we do that, I've got a berry to collect. Whee! Theo's gone. Oh well, I guess he must have gone into the spooky temple by himself. That's fine. I'm sure he's alright. So this chapter, we have two big gimmicks. We have these red bubbles. They're like the green bubbles from last chapter, except instead of just sending us a little way in each direction, they keep on going until we either hit something or dash out of them. And then we also have these, you can see these moving platforms. There's one on this screen here. These are... I call them dash blocks. I'm not sure what their actual name is. Maybe dash blocks. Let's call them dash blocks. Whenever I dash on a screen that's got one of these things on it, it zooms down to the end of its track and then slowly resets itself. So they can be additional obstacles, or they can be helpful platforms, or they can be both. Oh no, come on. This is another level where, a bit like Chapter 3, there's all these sorts of keys and locked doors, and also just generally a lot of exploration to be done. It's much less linear, and that means that there are berries scattered all around in weird places. So we're going to be doing a lot. Had to focus there because I had a berry that I hadn't collected and I was really afraid of dying. I'm going to be doing a lot of sort of weird exploration, like this, where I went all the way to the right and then I'm going to come back. I'll talk about why I did that in a second. But we've got more berries to collect in the meantime. So you can see here, that's an example of those dash blocks not being friendly. We have to sort of like keep dashing to keep them at the top of the screen so they don't come down and squash us. This is an example of a dash block being very friendly, where it helps us get in our way and then helps us get back. We can pick up all sorts of crazy speed by standing on these dash blocks and then jumping off them, because like with everything else in this game, momentum is preserved. Boing. We're going to retry here. Nope. There's really not that difficult a trick there, but I always forget the button input for it, where we can get to that dash block without dashing, and that saves us some time, but I messed it up. Anyway, we're going to quit back out to the menu. When I went all the way to the right before and then doubled back, it was to set up this checkpoint so that I could quit out of the game and teleport back to it and save some time. So we're into the second section. You might have seen Theo was in the mirror there. He's not in the mirror. Oh no. Whoop, I don't know what I did there. But I thought I was going to skip a cutscene and then didn't, and then just lost my berry. So we've got to recollect that. Anyway, Theo's not in that mirror anymore. He was before, but I guess he's fine now. I wouldn't worry about it. Because we've got more berries to collect. And Theo is my friend. So regardless of how he's doing, if I collect enough berries, he has to be impressed, and then if he's impressed, he has to be fine, right? There we go. That was another winged berry where I did some sneaky stuff. Winged berries don't like it when we dash on the screen that they're on, but they don't care if we dash on the previous screen. So what I did there was I dashed into that screen, so that I had all of the momentum I would get from a dash at the beginning of the screen. But the winged berry didn't see it, so it was okay. Oh, I missed a speedy zoom here, but that's okay. We can just do that. And this next section is just sort of more exploring and collecting berries. Oh dear. This is actually a good point to note. This part of the game is where our route really diverges from any percent for the first time. Where in any percent, there's actually harder versions of all of these chapters called the B-sides. And in any percent, we actually do the B-side of chapter 5 instead of this one, the A-side, because even though it's harder, it's much, much faster. However, B-sides don't have berries, and we want berries. So while in the any percent route, I would be doing the B-side right now. Here, we need to do the A-side in order to collect all of the tasty berries that are inside. What am I? Please. Oh dear. That was really weird. I'm not going to do that again. Let's try it. There we go. I don't know why that was causing me so much difficulty, but here we are. Another demo dash here. This one's fun. Really, really easy demo. You basically just like dash in the general direction of it and you miss the spikes, which is nice. I'm going to collect that berry because it's easy to sort of lose your momentum at the start of that screen like I did, and then I need to die and do a different strat. This next screen's a little bit tight, so I'm just going to focus. Nope. Nope, I moved too fast. Come on, Madeline. There we go. So I'm not meant to be able to actually get up there from that bubble. But demo dashes, really, really useful tech. If we demo dash into a bubble, it raises the bubble by 1 pixel. And that little hole in the roof was 1 pixel too high for us to get to. So by demo dashing into the bubble, it makes it grabbable, but it is a little bit tight, which is why it took me a couple of tries. Alright, we unveil a really big mirror. And there's Madeline, and here's our second playable character in the game, which is a tentacle monster with lots of eyes. It has really different movement. Hug! Ooh, okay, I think hugging killed Madeline, which is not ideal. Well, that was weird. But we're back to playing Madeline now, so I guess things are fine. Oh, and Madeline's here too. That's good. And lots of red spiky tentacles. Antagonist, creepy tentacle monsters, and also tentacles on all the walls. Using my refined media analysis skills, I'm going to say that everything is going really, really well for our hero. These statues just turned into a tentacle monster. These things are called Seekers. They want to give Madeline hugs. The bad news is that when they hug Madeline, they do kill her. So we try to avoid them. And this is a good point to note that consent is important when hugging, which the Seekers do not understand. More, I guess, helpfully in terms of what's going on, the Seekers, when they see us, dash towards us and kill us if they touch us. We can, however, jump on the top of their heads like that, which kills them for a brief period of time. This screen's pretty scary. The Seekers' movement is not random. There is no RNG in this game. So they respond according to our inputs. But there we go. They're really, really finicky, and in long screens like that, where there's sort of lots of tiny variations in what I would do at different times I play the game, they can end up in all sorts of weird positions that I wouldn't expect. So for short periods, we can kind of predict where they go, like here. Oh dear, I think that wall's already broken. Yeah, cool. I needed that Seeker to break the wall. I did not want to die, but that's okay. So in short bursts, we know where they're going to go. On longer screens, they can be pretty scary, and you have to sort of improvise around where they end up. Oh, what am I? Oh, I could have saved that as well. That was the thing I was talking about, where this screen should not be giving me this much difficulty. So I'm just going to stop talking. There we go. Yeah, definitely could have saved that several tries ago. But I panicked. We're in a 1v1 against a Seeker here, so that we can just do that. Oh, no we can't. Alright, cool. Play got pretty sloppy for a couple of screens there, but we're just going to refocus, and I think we should be fine. What we're meant to be doing in this section is there's a whole lot of different locked doors. I think there's 3 locked doors and 4 keys by memory. And the intended way to do this is that we need to unlock all of the various doors to unlock a red bubble that will let us zoom all the way to the left along that path that you can see there glowing against the wall. That's really slow though. So instead I'm going to collect 1 key, and I'm going to do this. And just use some movement tech to get over those spikes that normally you would need a bubble to clear. That key was to unlock this door, to get a berry, the most important thing. And now we're going to zoom down. Whoops. Cool. Improvising. And we're out of the more labyrinthy area now, and the rest of this level is a much more linear section. We need that Seeker to grab a key for us. I don't think I mentioned that, but the Seekers can be helpful to us in that they can grab keys. And here we found Theo. He's trapped inside a crystal that is made up of his worry about how others perceive him. This is the dangers of Instagram, folks. So for the rest of this chapter, we are going to need to carry Theo in his crystal out of the temple while dodging Seekers. Luckily, Madeline has not skipped arm day, so she is able to carry him without too much difficulty. We can't dash while carrying him though, so I'm having to do all of these sort of like throws and then dashes. Oh, this screen's can cause me some difficulty, so I'm just going to focus again. Up here is proof. Hang on. There we go. Proof that Theo's my friend because he's impressed. Alright, and now we're just sort of trying to zoom our way out. Speaking of zooming, never mind. There's a really fun little zoom that we can do on that screen, but I didn't quite get it. There we go. I might get to kill a Seeker here. Nah, never mind. If we squash a Seeker with one of those doors, we can like permanently kill it, which is very satisfying, but didn't quite make it there. This is the last screen I can die on in this chapter. And can be... Oh dear. Woo! Not what I intended to do there. Once again, scary. Improvising is scary. That's quite a long screen, so I really didn't want to die on it. Fun fact, I don't like eyes, so this screen sucks. But we got through it. Alright, we throw Theo at a giant eye. He gets broken out of his crystal, and we carry him on our backs out of the temple. And that's the end of chapter 5. Not a great chapter 5, had a lot of deaths there, but, you know, we're proud of our death count. Coming into chapter 6, this is another really, really pretty chapter. We start off by having a late night D&M with Theo, but that's slow, so we're going to skip it. And now we have feathers, which are great for me to miss. Wow, we're just going to start again. Now we have feathers for the first time. They let us fly. So we can move in 360 directions with these. And we're just trying to zoom to the top of the screen here. Here we have a D&M with Badeline, where we try to make her leave us alone. This trick's called Lake Skip. I need to focus. It's a really tight wall bounce I'm trying to do here. There we go. That probably still actually saved time, or would be close compared to what I meant to do, which is sort of like swim through some water and get one of these little friends called Kevin Blocks, named after Kevin Regami, who was the sound designer for this game. He voices them by warbling into a microphone, hence Kevin Blocks. Anyway, yeah, so we had a D&M with Badeline where we were like, hey, don't need you around, so can you leave? And she didn't like that, so she threw us down to the bottom of the mountain. And now we are literally climbing out of that abyss. There's probably some symbolism there. Trying to get a hyperdash here. There we go. So these Kevin blocks, when we dash into them, they start zooming back in the direction that we dashed from, which means that they can carry us through levels like that. And if we do movement stuff off them, we get to keep their momentum and go zooming like that. There's a couple of really, really fun zooms in this chapter. One in particular that I will point out when we get to it. Whoops. Where we get to go really, really fast. Here's a little one. Whee! Cool thing about chapter 6, there are no berries in it. You might have noticed that I haven't picked up any berries so far. It's got like some branching paths where you can decide which route through the game you want to take. Obviously we try to take the faster rooms. But I guess they decided that they didn't want to put any berries in this chapter because of those branching paths, so that players didn't miss them by just like taking the wrong route. So that means we're basically just playing this map as if it was any percent. There is actually a harder version. I forgot what I was doing there. Come on. There we go. I need to focus on this next screen as well, so I'll finish that thought in a second. Oh, cool, there we go. There's a lot of really tight gaps that I'm trying to work through in that screen that can kill us, so needed to be careful. Yeah, as I was going to say, there's a much harder route of this game, which is faster, where we actually don't do 6A and instead we do 6B. Because it's slightly faster. It's also much more difficult, and I have it on good authority that it's not worth trying to learn that until you're a better runner than I am. So that's somewhere on my list. Oh, I think I dashed the wrong direction there. Not sure how I did that. Another fun fact about Chapter 6, it was originally meant to be entirely an underwater level, and then they decided underwater levels suck. So, yay for it not being. Here's the big zoom I was talking about before. Hopefully we get a really zoomy version of it. There's sort of different degrees of success. Whee! We can also zoom all the way through that screen as well, but I missed a jump. Anyway, we got a bit of a zoom there. And now we are into the last section of Chapter 6, where we have our big boss fight of the game, where we really annoy Badeline, and she decides that it's time to kill us with lasers and scary orange or red glowy balls of evil. I don't know. So we are going to need to fight her, and ideally not die repeatedly to her. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. So each screen we sort of just have to hit her repeatedly in the face until she opens up the route to the next screen for us. It's a really cool way of doing a boss fight in a game that doesn't have combat mechanics. And it's just a really fun sort of variation on the platforming, and a nice little challenge. Generally what I'm trying to do through these screens is get back to the ground as fast as I can, because whenever I'm on the ground I can hyperdash, and as we've established, hyperdashing is fast. Flying into spikes, not fast. I think I'm missing some inputs or something here. Let me just... There we go. So hyperdash. This screen I want to go pretty fast on because there's a pretty tight window at the end here. There we go. If you're too slow there, she shoots you in the face, and we do not like getting shot in the face. This screen is like a little mid-air kung fu battle. Badeline tries to talk to us. We're like, nah, you need to be hit in the face now. And we're on to the final section. This room's fun. We get to do another little zoom. Badeline is now animating platforms around the room to crush us. Or at least more of it. I think she's been doing it the whole time, actually, come to think of it. What am I doing here? There we go. Ooh, that was not what I intended to do there, but we survived again. As always, improvisation. Really important. Another little mid-air battle here. And this is the last screen that we can die on. Hopefully we do not, because there's kind of a bit of a trend with these levels that the last screen is quite a long one. So if we die, it's bad. There we go, we got through. So that's the end of the boss fight. And now we have an actual D&M with Badeline and go, hey, like, I know you were trying to hold me back, but I understand that it was because you were trying to protect me. What if instead we work together and try to climb the mountain? And it's really wholesome. So now we've leveled up. Badeline has become a full anime protagonist with pink hair. And with the assistance of Badeline, we now have 2 dashes. So every time we leave the ground, we get a second dash before we touch the ground again, which is awesome. It gives us all sorts of opportunities for cool platforming, and is going to be really, really helpful through Chapter 7. Once again, Chapter 6, not a great run, but that's the cost of me trying to talk, I suppose. Chapter 7 is wonderful. It's a really, really long chapter. It's by far the longest chapter in the game, and that's because it consists of like a replay of all of the other chapters so far. So you can see this looks a lot like Chapter 6 did before we got into the weird boss fight. Cool demo dash coming here. There we go. And we're essentially going to reclimb our way out of... Ooh, I don't know how... I think I hit down with the, like, middle section of my finger there. I managed to dash downwards instead of upwards. That was honestly quite impressive. If I could stop missing inputs, though, that would be better. Here you see some of the power of having two dashes. We can, like, do these mid-air reversals, where we dash in one direction and then dash backwards after collecting a berry. And we also see the power of two dashes here, where there's just no floor anymore. And we just have to maneuver our way above these, like, chasms. Alright, that's our reprise of Chapter 6. And now we're going to play back through Chapters 1 through 5 in order. As I said, Madeline was thrown to the bottom of the mountain. So now we need to climb back up the entire mountain that we were climbing earlier in the game. Ideally, without hitting those spikes. Oh dear, I needed a second dash there. And that time I just didn't trust my... Please. Woo! Oh! I was so excited by having saved it that I forgot that I needed to keep playing. There we go, that's what that was supposed to look like. This is the risk of trying to save it rather than just resetting, is that sometimes you don't figure out how to save it and you just lose a whole lot of time from trying to save it. This is fun. I'm going to collect this berry, I'm going to death warp, I'm going to move to the next screen, I'm going to death warp, I'm going to move to the next screen, and we're just going to save a whole lot of time from falling backwards by just retrying. Winged berry there that we can collect after making it fly away. This screen's fun. Oh, except that I missed a coin. Alright. Less fun, but still fun. Big jump here. And this is another example of just not getting to have a floor anymore. There's just empty space below us, and we've got to just sort of like figure out how to use our dashes to get across. Coming up on this screen is a common motif for Chapter 7, which is hidden berries right at the end of the final screen of a chapter. So there's my way to the next bit. Battlin's waiting to throw us upwards, and if I can stop screwing up my positioning, there we go, secret berry! You're going to see that a lot on these final screens of chapters. There's going to be Battlin waiting to throw us to the next section, and also a little bit out of the way that we need to go to get a last berry for the area. We're coming into Chapter 2 with the dream blocks again now. And dream blocks are even more fun with two dashes because they reset both of our dashes when we go through them. So we just have so much airtime. Lots of floating. This trick's a little temperamental. Oh, yep, I forgot what I was doing for it. Try again. Come on. I'm trying to get a spike jump out of this dream block. There we go. Again, technically not actually jumping on those spikes. I was jumping out of the dream block just above the spikes, but it looks like I'm jumping on the spikes, and that's enough for me to call it a spike jump. Here we're going back the way that we came after getting that berry. We're going to collect another berry here. Go back. We're going to collect another berry up here. When there's spikes on these dream blocks, we can dash through the spikes in the direction that they're not pointing. I'm going to collect these because this one's a little bit scary. No. I'm trying to get some dream hypers here, which can be temperamental. There we go. That was 3 for 3. We just won't think about that fourth one. I missed a dream hyper there. Okay, I'm just going to do this one the normal way. A little bit slower, but faster than repeatedly dying. There we go. Got one last dream hyper. They're really fun, so I like going for them. They're also fast. They're just much, much slower when we die for no reason. Alright, that's the last bit of Chapter 2. Into the Chapter 3 reprise. Once again, Chapter 3 is hard. Lots of moving objects to handle. But having 2 dashes makes it more fun. We're going to go through this hole. Going to go through this hole. This is what I mean by berries sometimes being really far out of the way. Oh, I missed a dash there, I think. But that's okay. The death cycle for that's pretty fun because it requires a lot of really quick movement. This screen can be a little bit painful because depending on how fast I'm moving, I'm at very slightly different stages of cycle. So I have to kind of read it on the fly and figure out if I want to do dashes straight up or dashes up and right, that sort of thing. Oh dear. Death cycle here, really hard. We walk off the edge. Like that. Lots of zooming through this room. This one's fun. We've got a nice death warp coming up here. There we go. There's a dog on the next screen. Hi, dog. Fun fact, it took me oh, I normally collect that berry there. Oh, that was scary. Alright, here I need to collect both of these berries. There we go. Yeah, it took me a really long time to see the dog. Everyone always referred to that as the dog screen, and I was very confused. And then eventually I looked at the sluggish in the middle and I went, oh, hey, it does look like a dog. So there you go. If you couldn't see the dog, I don't know, go back and look at it again later, and you'll see there's a dog. Hooray, dog. It's a good boy, even if it kills us when we touch it. Into the reprise of Chapter 4. The thing I want you to remember about Chapter 4 is that there were 2 auto-scrollers, and we skipped the first one, and we didn't skip the second one. That may become relevant. We're back to having wind, but now it's wind without having a floor. Which means that once again we need to be really careful with using our dashes to greatest effect. Alright, this screen's got a really long auto-scroller on it, but auto-scrollers are slow, so we're going to skip it. There we go. And, oh no. Ooh. Ah! That is really upsetting. That's by far the easiest bit of the room, so that's really annoying to have missed. There we go. Alright, here's another auto-scroller, but it goes upwards, and therefore is really hard to skip, so we just got to take this one. Also, there's a berry on it. Yeah, I went too fast there. I was getting ahead of the platform. Getting impatient. There we go. I want to enter this room like this, so I can get that winged berry. A nice thing to comment on that first auto-scroll that we did skip is it would have been pretty clear that there was a path through that room that was there in order for me to be able to skip the auto-scroller, which is something really cool about the game. The devs very much built the game with the intent to like be speedrun, and there's a demo dash. There's lots of these like intended strategies that we can use that are faster than the casual playthrough in order to make speedrunning interesting. And that includes things like the like hyper dashes and extended hyper dashes. They were very intentionally put into the game for speedrunning, and the levels have all been designed so that there's sort of the casual playthrough with like basic movement, and then also alternate routes for if you know how to do extended hyper dashes and things like that. Secret berry. It's really, really beautifully designed, and the devs deserve many props. There's a reason that this is such a well-loved game. Coming into the Chapter 5 reprise now. I'm told it's meant to be pronounced reprise. My musical theatre nerd is showing here. I've been saying reprise for so many years now that it's hard for me to change, but just acknowledging. I know how it's meant to be pronounced, I just don't say it that way. This is really fun. We've got these dash blocks that we can get hypers off. Oh dear, I jumped too early there. This is another little spike jump. Whoop, come on. That was just me dying on spikes. What's happening? I'm missing my jump for some reason. There we go. Normally I get that first try. I don't know why that was causing me so much grief. Anyway, we get that key. We're going to unlock that door. We're going to come down here and get a berry. Berry. And we've already unlocked that door, so we're ready to keep going. Time to go up. Berry here. This room's fun. Lots of really just quick dashes to get around those spiky platforms. Ooh, can I? No. I was meant to have 2 dashes there, but I failed to extend my hyper, so I only had 1. And now I'm just panicking. There we go. What was so hard about that? This strat's called door skip, where we skip opening some doors. It's much easier than it potentially looks, at least if you think it looks hard. I actually did that on my casual playthrough because I saw the gap and I was like, I reckon I can fit through that gap. And then died repeatedly trying to fit through the gap instead of opening the doors. But it was fun. This is the final level of this screen, so you can see I've already gotten 2 secret berries. But would you believe, 3 secret berries. Cool. And now we're into the final bit of chapter 7, where we're finally onto a new section. So we've replayed through all of the previous chapters so far, and now we're up to the actual summit. And you can hear that music kicks in. It's like, hey, you're almost there. You can do this. We believe in you. It's very energizing. This section we call downwind, because the wind, instead of blowing us left or right, is blowing us downwards, back towards the ground. Which means it's harder to get air, but also it means that we hit the ground faster, which means there's lots of really quick movement we can do, because when we get the ground, we get our dashes back. Berry. Once again, you can see they've just taken the floor away from us at this point. They're like, you don't need floor, you've got dashes. So we need to maneuver this whole section without ever touching the ground. Except up here where I'm going to do an actual spike jump. There we go. As I said, all of the other times I haven't actually been jumping off of the spikes. I've been jumping off of the ground next to the spikes, or sometimes the wall next to the spikes. That one I literally just jumped on the spikes. And that's thanks to the downwind. It's a little bit of a complicated interaction, but essentially the wind was pushing me into the spikes, but I was trying to move away from the spikes, and so the spikes are like, you know what, we'll let you off this one time. You were trying not to touch us, so we'll pretend you didn't touch us. Now we're into upwind, which is in a shocking turn of events, the opposite of downwind. The wind is blowing us upwards away from the ground, which means that things are a little bit slower because it takes us longer to get back to the ground and get our dashes, but it means that we get to do these really, really cool floaty sections. Where our jumps take us higher, our dashes take us higher, our spikes still kill us. But it's just, I don't know, this part of the game feels really freeing to me as we just zoom through the air. There's a cute little neutral jump that we can do to get around this spiky obstacle. There we go. You might notice the flags are counting down. That was flag 11, so we better do a 10 flag countdown, right? 10! Now, I should note, when I'm not playing Celeste, I'm actually a maths teacher, which means I know how to count really, really well. 9! And when you know how to count really well, you can do advanced strategies like skipping 8. Doesn't matter. 7! 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Remember I just said 5 there, right? So that was 7, then we did 5, now 6. We don't do 5, we already did 5, I already counted to 5. 4. Bit of feather. This is our last berry for the chapter. What? 3. Last feather for the chapter. 2. Just kidding. We don't get 2. Oh, I messed up. This is the downside of not getting 2, is that I have to go back to checkpoint number 3. That was quite a costly death. It's really upsetting when you do something and just stop and you go, oh, I've got no way to save this. There we go, that's what I was trying to do. And 1! Cool, so the top of the summit's approaching. And that's the end of the summit. Not a great summit, all things considered. Once again, many deaths. This is the cost of me trying to talk and play at the same time. But, there you go. Alright, that's the end of the any percent run. We just try to get to the end of Chapter 7 for any percent, so that we get this cutscene where we all eat strawberry pie, and everyone is very impressed. But this is all red berries. We've got 5 more berries that we need to collect in bonus Chapter 8. So, this is the final chapter of the run. We have a year time skip where we come back to the mountain and we are going to journey into the mountain's core. And you notice something weird happening here already, which is that my dash is not resetting when I hit the ground. That's the big change for this chapter, is that now the only way for me to get my dash back is to collect a dash crystal or to start a new screen. So we need to really conserve our dashes through this chapter. Make sure that we're using them wisely. Coming up here is a trick called Ice Skip. Hopefully I can get it first try. Nope. Come on, I need to keep my speed through this screen. Almost done. There we go. So that was all to get that berry. Come on, one last bit. There we go. So yeah, that sequence of crazy things I just did there is called Ice Skip. What we're meant to do there is go all the way to the right and turn the room into ice, like, or not like that. Like this. There's all these switches through this level which alternate it between fire mode and ice mode. And when it's in ice mode, it's much, much easier to traverse those rooms, get that berry, don't have to dodge the fireballs. Wow, I don't know what happened there. I just didn't have enough speed for some reason. I am hitting that block way too low. Let me just figure out this. Come on. There we go, and here. There we go. Anyway, yes, you can see the fireballs turn into ice balls, and when they're ice balls, we can jump on the top of them. Fireballs kill us. So we have to do a lot of much harder platforming than we otherwise... Oh dear. I might be able to survive this. Whew. Those bumpers are really, really temperamental. So we often have to improvise strategies around them. Anyway, moving through this level, as you can see, we're just doing a lot of switches between fire and ice. This next screen is maybe the worst one in the game casually, because you just got to find a way through this path to the other end of the room. Thankfully, I know a pattern to get through. Get up, get this berry. Alright, and we're into the next section now, where we have this rising layer of lava, or sometimes ice, coming up from the bottom of the screen. I was about to say that it doesn't really, we don't really care about it because we are just moving too fast for it to catch up, but I did miss a trick and then immediately die to it, so, you know, sometimes we care about it. But it's only really an issue if we do mess up like I did on that first screen. Much like Battle back in Chapter 2, we're sort of just moved too quickly for it to be an issue. Oh, I thought I'd left enough space there. I need to grab onto that wall after the fire moves into it, which is a pretty tight window. There we go. This room's fun. We're doing a whole lot of bunny hopping. I haven't really talked about this because it barely matters in the run. Jumping is slightly faster than walking. Dashing, however, is much, much faster than that. So through most of the run, that's not something that we really care about. Awesome. This is our last berry. Hooray. So that's 175 berries. Now we just need to finish the game. But yeah, there's the only cases where we really do any bunny hopping are in Chapter 8 here, because our dashes are so limited, and in the prologue before we get our dash at all. Alright, we are on to the final section of the run now. Now you can see there's lava and or ice at both the top and the bottom of the screen, and that it changes between moving up and down as we switch between fire mode and ice mode. So we're sort of triggering between these two modes to make it so that the rooms remain safe to traverse the areas that we want to traverse. Ooh, I flew much further than I wanted to with that, so I need to wait for that exit now. This one has a couple of moments where it's pretty tight, but thankfully the timing works out. Last little bit of feather mechanics here. And then coming up is the last room in the game that we're able to die on. And it's a little like time-based challenge. There we go. There's one of these in each chapter to get these cassettes which unlock the B-sides. We don't care about the B-sides in this run, so that's the first time we've seen one of them. Alright, and we're on to the final screen now. As I said, we can't die on this screen. We can lose a lot of time on it if I miss my dashes. That was quite clean though. Alright, so end of the run is when we hit that heart and we've got timing come up on the screen, and that's it. That's Celeste, all red berries. Not a fantastic run, all things considered. My PB at the moment is 6 and a bit minutes faster than that, but that's okay. As I said, we're learning to play and talk at the same time, and therefore things are harder, but good fun. We're improving, and that's end of run. Cool. Thanks for watching if you made it this far, and I don't know, insert inspirational quotes here. Shoot for the moon, because that's what's on the screen. Cool. Bye.